What is going on, gang? We are back, past the prop, coming at you guys for our Friday show today. All of our week 2 plays coming at you guys here for free. Stu, we're back, coming off a sweep. How you feeling, my dude?
I'm feeling great. It was a great Thursday night football game. I mean, obviously, it was a little bit ugly. It was a little sweaty. I know a lot of guys in here were riding with me on Hawkinson, the first half, what's going on in the second half. Turnovers, like Hurts still doesn't look great. The Eagles still don't look great, but it cashed all of our bets. It was an entertaining Monday night or Thursday night football game, and we won some money. So, hey, I'm happy as hell.
Yeah, it was good. Obviously, your boy's rolling with Hawkinson, two out of his three year-long leagues. In one of them, I have a Jay Jetta plus Hawkinson combo. So a nice little 50-piece put up before the weekend even starts. So always nice to have that cushion. And our fantasy guy came through. Obviously, we had a couple of you guys talk about some questions for that Thursday night, bringing up Addison. I think Addison ended up with, what, 17 points, 18 points?
Yeah, no, that was my fantasy conundrum. And I ended up getting solved correctly. I know some of you guys asked. I guess Dotson and some of these other guys that were asked about still have time to pop off, but definitely love that. Love Addison. If you started him like I did, you're feeling very good. The only problem, I made the rookie mistake. I started him in my flex. I forgot to move him from my flex, which is classic fantasy 101 on your Thursday night, guys. Always put them in the correct position. It gives you flexibility later on. Learn from my mistakes.
Yeah, I understand that. I do. My only thing is, like, I did it last week because I have Justin Jefferson and Chris Olave. So it's like, where else is he going? He ain't going anywhere else.
Yeah.
So I ain't going to put him in over Jay Jetta, who is just, dude, on another planet. This dude is so awesome. My God, dude, he's open every time. Big game slate don't even matter, dude. He cooked them. Was open every time, even when it was close coverage. You either got the flag or you just found a way to get the ball. So, dude, I freaking love having Justin Jefferson on my team, man. It is wild.
Yeah, that number one overall pick in fantasy was a gift this year. But hey, we're not here to talk about fantasy. We're here to talk about betting picks. And we got a really, really nice slate coming up right here this week.
Yeah, let's get right on through our recap, and then we'll get it rolling here. Your spot there, obviously Madison sucked. God damn, he was bad.
Yeah, this was fun. I mean, it's normally unders. You're like kind of sweating till the last minute. This one got it from the start. You were like, okay, Madison's definitely cashing this. We just need Devonta to have a non-80-yard touchdown catch so we can actually pile up 4 receptions. Luckily, he got there, got the job done for us. Nice, easy cash right here.
Yeah, dude, I almost got nervous on there for a minute because the dude just wouldn't catch an underneath route. And A.J. Brown was getting the underneath routes, which was just weird to me. Just absolutely weird to me. And didn't really have to sweat too much on this. Kirk did his job like he usually does. And it's really nice to have one that just kind of goes the way you want it to go. Everybody else mad about turnovers. I fucking love it, baby. Put up some more points. Let Kirk be down 21 in the second half. After last year, don't matter. They could be down 30. They're going to keep them in. A lot of other teams like Joe Burrow, they pulled them in the fourth quarter. You ain't pulling Kirk Cousins, baby. He's coming back. He's going to put that garbage time hat on, and the dude is the king of garbage yards, garbage completions, like Tom Brady last year, man. They're down, don't matter. The dude's just going to chuck it around, and luckily for all fantasy people involved, all the people paid off. Even KJ Osborne came through with that touchdown late, so really good game overall for any Vikings starts that you guys had.
Yeah, no, that was fun. If you played fantasy, if you bet last night, you probably ended up doing pretty well just across the board, which is exactly like to see. That's what we kind of said on the show. We both were very in on this over. We were very in on the offense coming through. And yeah, you see a number like 24.5, you get a little bit worried for a guy like Cousins, who maybe isn't normally there, but played out exactly how we wanted it. I had this in a bunch of parlays as well. It definitely felt good to get the job done right here.
Yeah, the public 8 yesterday. So hopefully we can bring you guys some spots that probably won't be bet as much as that game yesterday. So, Stu, we moved on 2-0 there. 3 units profit already in the first 2 weeks. Can't really get too mad about that. Hopefully we can keep adding on today. But yeah, let's we're gonna take a look at the overlook of the slate. Let's talk about big screen game. We got 20 guys in here in the first 5 minutes. We know we've went over the last 2 shows. We got to make sure we cook through the show a little bit more. But what is the game on the big screen here?
Yeah, that's a good one because for me, it's gonna be. I mean, Red Zone normally gets the big screen if you're in a group, obviously. But for me, it's gonna be some of these uglier games that I really want to watch. I really want to watch the Falcons Packers. That's gonna be one of my favorite games.
It'll be done in 2 hours. It's all right.
Yeah, and it's gonna be an ugly one too. It's gonna be very ugly. And then I want to see the battle of the rookie quarterbacks with Houston versus Indianapolis. Those are, I know, not the flashiest games on the slate, but I think those are the games where we really learn a lot about both of those two teams, or both those four teams, I guess. So definitely those are my top two games on the slate this week.
I love that. Obviously, that Packer game, like I said, with the amount of running in that game, it might be done real quick. I mean, I don't want to take the chalk one, which you guys know is probably going to be the Chiefs game. I know that's going to be the most talked about game. Give me Goat Geno, baby. As always, Goat Geno. I love this man. Obviously, shootout last year. If you game stacked last year in that game, you won $1 million. That was the millionaire lineup. Was a full, complete game stack in that spot. Obviously, you guys know, probably the biggest Goat Geno fan of all time. This man made me a lot of money last year, and hopefully he continues to do that. But Amon-Ra might just go for 300 in this game because, my God, Quandre Diggs is an absolute can. Absolute can, dude. 75th out of 78 ranked safety last week.
Okay.
Come on. Dude got wrecked. And now you're going to give me Amon-Ra, dude? Come on now. This dude's about to cook. Obviously going to be a mainstay in my DFS lineups this week. But I really want to see. I know our boy Matt Williams talking about the line there with the Seattle Seahawks line being hurt and stuff. I'm really curious to see what they do because obviously that Detroit line is no joke. Secondary is a little bit better, but I mean, you can put whoever you want on DK, man. It's just you got to hope that injury that you talked about last show stays through. And I haven't heard anything different that he is playing or anything.
Yeah, the concussion protocol stuff is always real annoying because they never tell us anything. You know, with the ankle, with the hamstring, you do kind of learn throughout the week. But I guess we'll have to see because Lockett playing is definitely big news in that game, right? So I agree, though. That'll be a fun one. That'll be a DFS one. I talked about that a lot on Thursday on the DFS show over at Sportstopia. Definitely want as many pieces as possible. I know JSN was your cheap guy on the show on Wednesday as well, which I definitely think is a good look.
Yeah, and if hopefully Lockett does play just for even if he's just a decoy out there, right? I mean, either way, obviously you want as good of weapons as you can out there. But yeah, those would be my two games that I look for. Again, before we get into our dogs of the week, if you guys got any questions, make sure you drop them in the chat. Hey, good minds think alike there, my man. Z-Man rolling with the Lions, Seattle, baby. Again, I want to get my rant out of the way here early with the NFL schedulers. You guys suck. Absolutely terrible job this week. This might be the worst I've ever seen. You're putting the 4 best games early. Yeah. And you're giving me 2 dog shit Monday night games? Like, okay, maybe I'll give you the Pittsburgh game as like a little not as smelly dog shit. But the Panthers? Come on. That game's going to take, like, again, 2 hours. That game is going to be so bad. But I had to – I'm not even going to go into it. I already did my other half of it last show. If you really want to see it, I did go pretty far in on that one. But, yeah, dude, the scheduling, all the noon games are fucking awesome. They're awesome games. And then I get to watch the Commanders, bro. You don't mean the Commanders in a primetime spot? Come on now. Come on now.
Yeah, that's fair. But, I mean, if we want to segue, honestly, to the dog of the week right here, I think the Commanders are not too bad of a look. I don't know. I feel like I got a lot of pressure this week. I started off with the Raiders last week, which I didn't see a single person telling you guys that the Raiders were the good side of that. And I almost kind of want to continue it. It feels like the books did not learn the lesson of even if you do like the Broncos to win this game, you trust them to win by margin after what you saw. You trust them to win by more than 3.5 points. Additionally, when we look at it, what's the weakness of this Washington team? It's clearly the offensive line, right? It's a very bad offensive line. Guess what? The Broncos generated less pressure than almost every other team in the NFL, and they blitzed at the lowest rate in the NFL last week. So they're not generating natural pressure, and then they're not blitzing to supplement that, which means Sam Howell actually should have a little bit more time in the pocket. Additionally, on the other side of the ball, What did the Broncos do more than anyone else in the league on first down last week? They ran the ball. They ran the ball more than the Panthers. Or sorry, not the Panthers, the Falcons. They ran the ball more than the Falcons on first down last week. And guess what? The one real strong suit of this Washington defense is the run defense. They were great last year. So for me, those factors combined, I was very shocked to see the line was moving in the Broncos direction. The 3.5 on DraftKings does seem like a good look to me. I know you can see this flag right here behind me, but I bet against my team more than anyone else. So I don't think you can use that on me.
Yeah, no, I'll give it to you. I don't mind that spot at all. Plus 154 on DK right now is pretty wild to me.
Yeah.
In that spot, obviously, probably the Howell stuff and just like he looked okay last week. But you got decent weapons, right? You got decent weapons. Maybe Antonio Gibson won't be the worst player in football next week. So hopefully he can maybe get more than 10 yards and not fumble the ball. But obviously you guys heard that personal bias in there. He fucked me over in fantasy. So just that was a little personal. I went at him personally there. So bear with me on that one. I like the Patriots, dude. 3 points. If it gets to 3.5, I'll probably just bet the spread. Almost backdoor covered the Eagles there on a crazy line that I was like, why is this line 4? They came back, got all the way back to 5 there. I like this defense. They're able to take away your number one thing. That's what Belichick's done for his entire career. And I want to see if the Dolphins can actually have methodical drives. Mostert kind of beat up. Can Tua go through a methodical drive and not try to go for the deep ball? I don't know if that's going to be the case. We saw Mac Jones decide to be good last week. So I don't know. Miami got torched up by the Chargers there. I think Ramondre Stevenson obviously going to have a nice game this week as well. An under-the-radar guy that I'll probably be trying to get in DK if I can. But I think there's a lot of advantages going to the Patriots side that you got a primetime game last week for the Dolphins. Everybody's watching you. They win when a lot of people bet the Chargers, which I probably would have if I would have bet the game. But guess what? At that same time, everybody's watching that game. The same time across the country, they're competing with the Eagles and keeping it close and almost covering the spread there. So I really, really like the Patriots there. 3-point dogs at home. I think you could go worse than that with a plus 130 tag. If it gets to 3.5, I will be betting that spread for sure.
Yeah, that's an interesting one for me. I mean, I bet against the Dolphins last week, right? And I was wrong. And I think the Dolphins kind of proved that they can beat a finesse team, right? They can beat these offensive teams that want to go in a shootout, but can they beat a smash mouth team in the Patriots that want to make this game grimy? They want to make this game ugly. I don't know. I don't know if Tua's really proven that to this point in his career. Obviously, a lot of injury stuff. It's not really fair to judge him too much, but I kind of agree with you. As someone that was very impressed with the Dolphins last week, it's like, I think this Patriots line is going to actually get pressure. Tua wasn't sacked once. He was barely under pressure. He was getting the ball out quickly. What happens when we get a lot scarier of a Patriots pass rush? Judon is suddenly in your face on every play. That's when things get a little crazy. That's when the interceptions, the turnovers start to happen. And yeah, what do we know about Belichick? I know Tua's been in the league a couple of years, but he cooks these younger quarterbacks, right? And I mean, he's a little older, but he doesn't really have the game experience still. So I do like the Patriots side. I'm not going to bet it. I don't think I can bet just because I was really impressed by the Dolphins last week, and that's kind of still lingering on my mind. But to be honest, I feel like this is one of those weeks where you could go heavy on every dog and have a pretty good week in the end because I think there's a lot of good upset spots.
Yeah, dude, there's a lot of dogs that look like they could bark this week, and obviously a lot of them at pretty decent prices. One thing I want to talk about there a little bit before we get into some bets there is, do you believe in the Cowboys at 9.5? Are you trusting that? Obviously, I know Zach Wilson, all that shit. Like, do you think the Dallas Cowboy defense can score another touchdown? Because I don't know what you watch, but that Cowboys offense obviously didn't need to do too much, but that Jets defense was legit.
Yeah, that's a great question. I was doing the same thing when I was looking at the dogs. I was like, really? We're going to get to 10 maybe? Like 9 is kind of crazy. I was thinking in my head maybe 7 would make a lot of sense. 7.5 maybe for the hook right there. But I'm with you. I think for me, it's either Jets or no bet, and I like the Cowboys defense. I truly think these are two of the best defenses in the league. And I wish we could have had Aaron Rodgers square off in a little bit more of an intense matchup. But obviously, I do not know how Wilson's going to handle that pressure. But at the end of the day, we got to remember Dak led led the league in interceptions last year as well, going up against, like you said, arguably the best defense in the league with the Jets. And that was including like an emotional blow mid-game, right, where they were probably devastated. They probably thought they were not in a great position to win that game, and they still rallied back and played great defense. So I agree with you. I think that is a little bit of a crazy spread. And once again, I still need to learn who's going to carry. Is Pollard really going to carry the ball 20 times a game? Like, is that really our plan this year? Because it seems like that's really our plan. Like, every single thing so far has indicated that that's our plan. Just for me, like, as a, analyst, fan, all that stuff, it's like, really? A guy like Pollard with the size, we don't see that too often. It's nothing against the talent. The talent is clearly there, but having no change of pace back on your roster with a main back as Pollard is kind of crazy to me. And I wonder how that functions against such a strong interior defensive line like the Jets.
Yeah, same with James Cook. I'm really curious because he got a ton of run too as a smaller back like that. So definitely a good talking point there on Pollard there. Lastly, I want to bring it up again. I thought the spread was going to move and this total was going to move. Joe Burrow, Lamar Jackson, a lot of injuries on that Baltimore side already week one. That total's been sitting pretty firm, 46.5, 47. What are we thinking here? We thinking Joe Burrow's going to have that bounce back here? Because, my God, dude, I don't know if you knew this one, T. Higgins, I think, was top 5 in air yards last week.
Yeah.
My God, with a Zippo. Like, I mean, that's got to give T. Higgins owners a little bit of, I don't know how you, like a nice little tiny pat on the back, even though you took that fat L. But it's just like, you got to think they bounce back, right? Joe B's got to pop off here, right? Even though last week was so bad. Maybe a little weather in there, right? But I don't think the Ravens can stop them, really. Can you? Can you think that too?
Yeah, the problem is, man, these Ravens just get so injured every year. You're losing your starting safety off the bat. Now we're down possibly 2 offensive linemen, right? 2 of your best offensive linemen. For me, that just makes it really hard to kind of trust the Ravens side in this one. And I agree with you. I think it's kind of clear. If I have T. Higgins on my fantasy team, I'm starting him with confidence this week. Like you said, there were just a couple near misses down the field. Overall, Burrow looked terrible. It's kind of like the thing we said about Deshaun Watson all offseason, where it's like, he can't possibly be worse than he was last year. That's kind of the logic going in here with Burrow. Like, is there any way he's anywhere near as bad as last week? I find it pretty hard to believe. So for me, I think it's going to be a close game right here, but I don't think I'm interested at all in picking a side at this point. Early in the week, Ravens, it makes so much sense. Now we look at the injury report. Now we think about the Burrow bounce back. I don't know, man. It just feels so like these props we're about to talk about in a minute. I feel so much value on some of them. And the spread, it really feels like you're guessing to me, especially with how kind of weird it is compared to what the public feels about the Ravens. So it's just a pass on the spread for me, but it will be a fun game to watch.
Beautiful, beautiful. Well, we are to that point. We got 30 of you guys in here in that first 20 minutes. Hit that like button, guys. We really appreciate it. Goes a long way for us. And, it's time. It's time for some props. Hopefully going for another round of sweeps here. We will go with our smaller plays here first. I'll kick it over to you, Mr. Homer there. Mr. Homer, we love to see it.
Yeah, we're going to Jahan Dotson over 42.5 receiving yards at -110 over on DraftKings right now. This is one of my favorite spots this week. Ever since I watched it last week, I was thoroughly unimpressed with the Washington offense. Like, this isn't some kind of bet on how amazing this team is going to be. But I think Dotson was clearly one of the highlights when I rewatched the game on tape. Not only was he consistently winning on the outside and on the inside, he was getting open. But now we find ourselves in actually a pretty solid matchup here in week 2, because when we look at what happened last week, the Raiders attacked them with a very similar game plan that Washington is. They had very consolidated target shares. It's 2 guys that were involved with the Raiders last year, Devontae Adams on the outside, and then it was Jacoby Myers, who was playing more on the inside, outside. But those were their 2 wide receivers, and all of their target share was composed between those 2 guys, or the vast majority. And the Washington's operating in the same way this year, with Terry McLaurin as kind of the clear number 1, and Jahan Dotson is kind of the rising number 2. What we saw, though, is last week Patrick Surtain shadowed at the highest rate that any corner in the league did. And that is same consistent with his usage last year. There are very few shadow corners in the NFL at this point. I know even a guy like Jair Alexander will get a lot of credit when he hasn't shadowed in years, right? People don't really look at this stuff. Patrick Surtain is one of the few corners, both this this year and last year, that is always going to be shadowing your number one wide receiver. And that's going to be Terry McLaurin on the outside, who already had a bit of a slow start in week one, even without shadow coverage, right? He's going against the Cardinals. And for me, I love that we saw that same kind of repertoire between Dotson that we saw in the preseason. We saw it in week one. The targets were there. He had over 70, ended just short of this at 40 yards. But I really do think this is kind of a floor performance for the Washington offense. Additionally, it's the same thing I brought up on why I kind of like them in this game overall. It's the offensive line matchup. That is the weakness of this Washington team. It's their offensive line. And to be honest, the fact that the Broncos were getting absolutely no pressure and they were blitzing at the lowest rate in the league last week gives me a lot of confidence that Washington's actually going to have a little bit more time to throw than we expected. Last week, the Cardinals were just bringing everybody. They know their defense isn't great. They were just getting at Howell, and I think they had him pretty rattled early. He settled down in the second half, looked a lot better than he did in the first half. Pretty easy to do when you almost throw like 8 interceptions, right? But I was a little bit more confident in that second half. I like what I saw from Dotson right there. He is the far better matchup, right? I mean, when you look at it, I do not want any Patrick Surtain ever on the outside. And I think Terry McLaurin is going to have a very tough time on the outside. So it opens up, if we get 7 more targets for a guy like Dotson again, especially if the spread is right and we're trailing in this game, we're behind, we have to throw a little bit more. I have a lot of confidence that Dotson actually looks a little bit better. The final thing I'll say, last year, he was winning deep a lot, right? I was a little bit more concerned. Is he going to be in that kind of deep ball only kind of role? Or are we not going to use him over the middle of the field? He had a 9.8 ADOT and only 68 air yards last week. So they actually were using him over the middle. They were using him more in short yardage situations, trying to get him the ball fast. That's really what I look for. I want these kind of design plays. I want these scheduled plays. And I think Dotson will get plenty more of these. So 42.5 to me seems like a very low bar, especially with what we just saw Jacoby Myers do as the wide receiver 2 for the Raiders last week.
Yeah, no, and I know this is going to hurt your heart there, but hopefully, I mean, maybe we'll see a little more Hunter Renfrow. Maybe. He's only ran like 18 routes on like 18%. We need him back, bro. We need him back. We need all reliable. I need a little parlay piece every single week. But I remember I just watched that game for a little while. I'm like, where is this guy? Where's this guy? So hopefully he does bring it back there. But as a guy who invested in Dotson and a lot of best ball, well, I really hope that you hit this one, and I'll be tailing as always there. I'm going to go to another one that I don't know if people are going to want to click on. I think this is a little more recency bias on the other side there, but I'm going Tyreek longest reception under 27.5. This is on DraftKings right now. I know. You guys probably saw him get like 6 of these last week alone against the Chargers there. But what has Belichick done his entire career, right? He takes away your best option. Guess what? You don't even need to try to take away this run game. It's literally non-existent, especially if Mostert's out. It is non-existent. Like, could I see Tyreek running rushes? He had a rushing touchdown last time they played these guys last year. I don't know if you guys knew that, but he did have a rushing touchdown in there. I think that they're going to be able to take away that deep ball. They did it last week. They already shut down A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith, right? Jalen Waddle's been running those middle routes, those crossing routes that he's just been breaking, and had 20-something yards per catch last week. So obviously very capable there. I think he's the guy to target there. But I also think Tyreek's going to be running bubble screens. I think he's going to be running those 5-yard routes. But if I'm going to take a team to make tackles, it's going to be the Patriots. They're find a way to get you on the ground. And something that Belichick always does is he learns from his mistakes, right? Tyreek, he played with Mahomes, right? He got this in 2017, 2018 on 75-yard touchdowns, right? Last four times these guys have played, he had a 19-yard as his longest, 26-yard as his longest, 22 and 21, right? He's found a way to keep them under control. He has not broke 100 yards against them in 4 straight matchups. Obviously, last time, I know you can talk about Teddy Bridgewater and all of that. I understand that. But even the first game that year, right? 8 catches for 94 yards. Fantastic game against the Patriots. He still did not get there. I think this number should be like that 25, 26, right? And you're getting that boost, right? We talk about Gabe Davis with how bad he was last year. We grab it at the bottom and bet on the bottom before it tips up, right? This is the same thing. Everybody watched that game last week. They watched him cook every single corner, go for 40-yard bombs, 60-yard touchdown, beat everyone. Tua puts a perfect ball over there. I can guarantee you there's not going to be single coverage on Tyreek Hill for one play this week. No chance unless they're going to be running like a little bubble screen, right? That's the only way he gets a one-on-one. And even then, if I'm going to have him break 4 or 5 tackles to get there, so be it. He beats me on that, but I'm putting my trust in Bill Belichick. If you've been betting on Belichick his whole career, you're probably making a lot of money. And they found a way to shut down two of these guys last week from doing this, right? And A.J. Brown, who's one of the best 50-50 targets in the game. And you also have Devontae Smith, who we just saw drop, 160 yesterday on 2 deep balls there. I don't think that Miami's going to be able to run the ball. I think the quick screens are the only way, and we're going to have to see Bill Belichick getting those guys to tackle in space, which I think they're going to be able to do. Obviously, Tyreek's one of the hardest ones to get on the ground. But guess what? I'm trusting Belichick this week. Sign me up. I think this number should be a little bit lower, especially in this matchup against the Patriots, who take away your number one spot. And Tyreek, after a 200-yard, 2-touchdown week, is definitely that number one option for the Dolphins.
Yeah, no, I mean, obviously this is a scary one, right? To anyone that clicked off the video, I'm sorry, hopefully you come back when it wins, we'd appreciate that, obviously, but it's scary for sure. And I like your analysis right here. I think one thing you hit on kind of quickly that I think is actually a really big deal is the Patriots tackling. This is a team that has consistently been like the anti-yak team, right? I mean, we look at a team like the 49ers that are all yak. This is a team where if you want to get on the field for the Patriots, you got to tackle. Right, you got to. Like, that's why we have so many practice squads, so many 4th, 5th round picks. There's no hierarchy. If you want to get out there, you got to, play dirty. You got to get in the weeds, and you got to be making tackles, whether you're a corner, whether you're a safety, whether you're a linebacker. And I do think that makes a lot of sense. My biggest problem here is, like you said, I'm just worried. Like, he's going to get like 8 bubble screens this game. He's going to get a bunch of screen passes. He might even get a couple of handoffs. I would not be surprised to see that whatsoever. Can he burst one of them for 100 yards? Yes, it's Tyreek Hill. We know he can always do that. Does this make it a much tougher matchup with the best head coach of all time on the other side? It does. And to be honest, when you said that his longest reception in 3 of his last 4 games was like 22, 21, and 19, that's just crazy to think about. For like that happens like 3 times a year for a guy like Tyreek Hill. So it definitely makes a lot of sense. I can see why people would be scared off, but I do like the logic behind it a lot.
Yeah, no, and Sean, I did see a limited participant today. He was limited in there. Obviously, I know Jones is going to be one of those top guys for him. If he did not participate, I would be very concerned, right? If he did not play at all or didn't practice at all, but a limited participant, I'm assuming that's going to be, going to be ready to play there, especially with a Sunday night game being that night spot. I know they don't post a lot of the injury stuff as early as the other ones there. Hey, and like I said, I don't think that he's going to have a terrible game, right? You're going to have to feature him, right? You have to feature him, right? He's your best guy, but you have to get 30 yards. If I'm going to have to trust him to get 30 yards on one play, right? It could be the same thing we saw with A.J. Brown last night. 7, 8 catches or whatever, how many, right? 5 maybe. But he got like 10-yard catches. Important ones, first downs. But who cares? I don't care. You get, like I said, 10 catches for 100 yards. Sign me up. I'll take it. Whatever you need, Tyreek. But hey, just let's not get 1 for 30.
I'm with you. And I mean, too, I'm probably going to be betting on his receptions this week. Like, I think he racks up those catches because, like you said, there's no running game. It's just one of those things of can we actually hold him beyond 30 yards, which, once again, 27 is going to be the highest, longest reception yard of the week, right, by any wide receiver. So you're expecting him to go under an elite number, which is never really a bad bet, to be honest.
Yeah, and I mean, just to put in perspective, last night alone, I had Jefferson over 27.5 because I like that matchup. And those are the only 2 guys you're going to see at this line. Those are the only 2 guys in the NFL you're going to see at 27.5. So just a heads up. I mean, this is top of the line, dude. This is the top of the line guy. Obviously, I'm going to bet on it being a lower week than last week. But I like the recency bias. We always like that, right? We always like being on the opposite of the recency bias, right? And we talked about Josh Allen. I'm going to talk about here in a little bit. You talked about some bounce backs on Kadarius Toney like last week. So I think it's gonna be a good week, and always like doing these on week 2 and week 3 when everybody overreacts to that first week, right? So really like this spot. We got a couple questions. I want to make sure we get that in there. Dotson, Collins, Judy, Stu, who is it?
I think it's that order. I think I'm starting Dotson and Collins, and I'm probably leaving out Jerry Jeudy in this one for me.
So is Dotson 1?
I mean, there's no real need to number them. You're starting or
no. I'm saying if this is a flex, right? So this is 1. Which one? So Dotson's 1 then?
Oh, that's tough. I mean,
that's what I'm assuming the flex means for the 1 spot.
Wait,
That's a damn good flex.
Yeah,
that's a damn good
interesting.
flex.
Yeah, if it's 2, I was gonna say Dotson Collins. Between those 2, I don't think you can go wrong. I think they both have really good weeks. I'd probably go Dotson, but actually I think Collins might have more touchdown upside, which is kind of even crazy to say. But I don't know. That's a close one. I like both those guys. We'll talk about both of them at one point in the show. So
yes. Let's get it going here. You talked about was not at practice. I saw it differently, but maybe it's just something small. Yeah, but if he practiced yesterday in a limited capacity and then just sat today, I would just assume it's just, injury prevention stuff. So, but yeah, that's definitely an option there with 5.5 extension of the run game there. Oh yeah, dude. And I mean, we could talk about props all the time and we do it in here, but it's like, if you take, he's talking about betting on the game. How many people bet on the spreads, totals, and money lines of games? Probably like 10x the amount of people betting on props, right? That's why we can get to these before everybody else does, because the amount of people betting on props is significantly lower than the people betting on spreads, because everybody's going to go out there trying to throw a 16-leg money line parlay together, right? You're casual bettors. That's what you're doing on Sundays, right? You're not even diving into props. Who wants to dive into props? I already got my fantasy team. Right? That's what my guys are. You know what I mean? So it's like, that's what we're doing here with props. I definitely understand. No, yeah, for sure. No. Hey, this dude, Sean, dude, you're not a hater at all, bro. You're helping us out. That's what I'm saying. You're helping us out here. We appreciate you guys bringing this in, right? Yeah. I'm happy to get the information. We might not see the beat writers in New England, and you may be closer to there, right? That's the same thing. When anybody brings up Packer stuff, guess what? I probably hear it before anybody else, right? So, I mean, that's the thing is, we appreciate the banter, appreciate you bringing in the information. That's definitely something we want to do.
Yeah, no, I was making those faces at that other guy. What the fuck does the purpose of the game means? I don't give a fuck what the purpose of the game is. I
don't care who wins.
Exactly. We're trying to win money here, right? We got fucking 500 people tuning in. We're not here trying to, give you the best faithful interpretation of football. We're here to make fucking money. So, yeah, I don't know what that's about. Obviously, you can bet whatever you want. That's the great part about this. So if you don't want to bet props, more power to you. But yeah, props are winning at a higher rate than these spreads are for the most case, because like you said, it's 80,000 people betting on it versus like 1,000 of us degenerates. But we'll keep it moving from that.
Yeah, we will bring it to you. I'm definitely happy we were able to bring that up, because obviously we've been profitable the last 2 years in NFL, starting off this year pretty well, and hopefully we're going to be able to continue that. But we appreciate all the 700, 800 of you guys that pop in here throughout the week and lock in these bets with us. We appreciate all your support as always. And we'll head on to number 3 and number 4 here. I haven't seen a 1.5 out of you, Stu, in a minute, so go off for me.
That's what I was just about to say. Michael Pittman over 50.5 receiving yards, minus 110. We're playing that for 1.5. And if you've been watching the show for the last couple of years, you've really only seen a 1.5 next to your name, not next to my name. And to be honest, if receptions was out right now, if that was available, you could even be seeing it too. And maybe I'll even add on a half unit when receptions comes out. We'll see what happens. But for me, one of the most important stats to look at for a wide receiver in week 1 is first read target share, right? I'm wondering, who is the quarterback looking at for their first read? And Michael Pittman rated out as elite in this category. He had a 34.6% first read target share with Anthony Richardson, which really tells us when we're looking into this game, right? We're trying to think, how are we game planning? How are we, how's Steichen kind of designing these plays? Who does he want to get involved early and often? That was clearly Michael Pittman in this game. But I know I just said early and often. When you look at the game log, there was a huge adjustment made at halftime in this game. Michael Pittman only had 1 target going into the half right there, and he ended up having 10 targets after halftime. Despite all of that, he still managed a 34% first read target share, despite only being targeted once in the first half, which I think really shows you how much they were trying to correct that mistake that they made in the first half. We need to get this guy the ball early. We need to get the ball often. And that's what ended up obviously having them very competitive in that game. You had that huge touchdown play. You had that huge 28-yard reception on the second down. He was making plays all over the field. But what I really do love to see is obviously that 34% first read target share. That's an elite number. That's a Devontae Adams number. That's a Justin Jefferson number. We got to put Michael Pittman in that category in terms of usage. Second off, I want to talk about pre-snap motion. That is one of the biggest things I'm going to be targeting this year. Last year, thanks to data from a bunch of people, I believe Fantasy Points, I saw it from a guy named Jacob Gibbs, 38% more likely to receive a target if you were put in pre-snap motion. 38% more likely to receive a target if you were put in pre-snap motion. Let's look at Michael Pittman last year. He was put in pre-snap motion in 5% of plays. That's basically nothing. That's basically your average outside wide receiver, not moving around too much. This week, he was number 3, just behind Tutu Atwell at number 1 and Tyreek Hill at number 2, which means they were constantly finding creative ways to get Michael Pittman a free release, both on the outside and on the inside, which is an absolutely lethal tool for something that they just weren't doing at all last year. They're opening up new facets of his game. And that's something else we want to talk about. When you have a new coaching staff, that's really where you want to take advantage of these edges. When you look at a game like the Colts Texans, you think this is a low scoring matchup. You see a low total. Via FTN, these two teams were both top 5 in adjusted pace in week 1. We love pace, no matter what sport you're betting on. If you're betting overs, baseball, basketball, football, you love pace. So to have 2 top 5 pace of play teams in week number 1, I think that's not really being accounted for in these numbers. So I love that he's the first read on these plays. I love that the talent is there, right? This is a guy that was being drafted extremely high with Matt Ryan as his quarterback. Matt Ryan, he's being drafted as an elite stud wide receiver. And then obviously we don't perform with freaking Matt Ryan at quarterback with Jonathan Taylor running the ball 5,000 times and we give up on the guy. The talent is still there. The separation is still there. His new quarterback loves him. We're playing in a faster paced offense and we're going against a pretty pedestrian defense, right? The Texans rated out actually as the second best slot coverage unit in week 1 and then a bottom 10 outside in week 2. So a guy like Josh Downs has a super tough matchup in the slot, who was pretty much his only other target last week. So I think everything comes together. Just make this an awesome Pittman play. I would have opened this number at 60.5, 65.5. We see already FanDuel's at 55 while the rest of the market is at 50. I think that's very telling for the direction this line is going. And I love Michael Pittman this week.
Yeah, I'll be talking about that game in a little bit when we go to our long shots. Well, hey, Plus Money Bob, you got here right in time, my guy. You got here for Plus Money spot coming up here in a second, and we got our long shots coming. So you're going to see some plus money there. But, yeah, Pittman, I mean, like you said, even with Matt Ryan, he was nice. Even Matt Ryan, he was a 7K DK receiver, dude. Like, that's crazy. And obviously Richardson gives you another thing to think about, another aspect of the game where you got to worry about him running, right? So you get him outside the pocket. Obviously, you're going to look for that number 1 when you're outside the pocket there. Obviously, love Pittman as a receiver as well. But yeah, dude, he got smoked so many times. Maybe we slow our roll down a little bit there, Anthony. I know it's your first game. You got all the jitters and you're excited, but my God, dude, you were taking some hits. Before I get to mine, did you watch the Monday night game with the Bills in the
yeah, I did.
Did you see how many huge hits Zach Wilson just took? And their coach is like, hey, you got no chance. You come here, you pretend like you're good, and you're going right back in because we got nobody else. Randall Cobb, I've seen throw a football that is not going to go well for you guys. So I brought that up because obviously Richardson took a bunch of huge hits, but Zach Wilson took some huge ones on Monday. And I'm like, dude, who's their backup? Oh, yeah, they don't have another one. It was Rodgers and Wilson, and they're just like, oh, you got to do this one. So I'm going back to my alt line spots, and I'm going to 2 teams that we did not think were going to be 0-1, right? And when you get these teams where, backs against the wall, you don't want to go 0-2 to start your season, right? You're going to put the ball in the hands of the best players on your team, right? And that's going to be Josh Allen, obviously, and Mahomes. 275, 225. Give me plus 100 on DK. It's underneath on the far bottom there, under the passing props where it lets you have the alternate spots. Allen hit this last week, and I could tell you right now that was probably a D- game for him, right? That was probably one of the worst games you've probably seen him play. We have a great spot here. I know you talked in depth a little bit about the Bills on our last show, and I obviously 100% agree. And also, Allen hit that number with his longest pass being 26 yards, right? When's the last time that you've seen Josh Allen with a 26-yarder as his deepest one? Right? Shout out Gabe Davis, though. Way to make those guys miss and get that 26-yarder. But that's what I'm saying. He had a terrible game. No yards after the catch. Just probably going to be number 1 or 2 in fantasy defense. The Cowboys are cheating because they scored 2 touchdowns on Daniel Jones, but that's not the point here. 225, and you're getting at like minus 270. Go along with Mahomes at 275. Mahomes, obviously, I'm assuming Kelsey plays. I know we talked a little bit. You probably are leaning towards him playing as well. Yep. But also, this is going to be a fun game. 50-something point total here. It should be a ton of passing going around here. We saw Pacheco not really do much in his opportunities on the run game, or at least making people miss, right? So, again, we just talked about it with Tyreek trying to get the ball into the playmaker's hands on the outside. I expect that bubble screen game to be there. I expect those underneath ones to be there. And what happened last week there with the Jaguars too, right? Richardson still had a pretty good game passing the ball. We just talked about Pittman there as well. But if Kelsey comes back, this could be a tough one there for that Jacksonville defense to stop, because you're going to have to put 1-2 helmets on Kelsey at all times. It's going to be, can those receivers make the play? You've been hearing about it all week. You know they're going to be just chomping at the bit to be ready to make plays out there for him. I hope it happens. I hope McKinnon is a little bit more focused here as well. I want him to get the damn ball, man. How do you only get one catch? Obviously, one was called back from a penalty or a drop. But still, there's a lot of playmakers out there, a lot of guys who are great in space, and I expect them to obviously play better, because I really don't think they can play much worse than they did last time, and that was without Kelsey. He still ended up with 225. I think 275 is a great price here, and you get them combined for plus 100. I just checked at the moment right now. It is now officially minus 102. So still a great price here. I love both these quarterbacks in bounce back spots.
Yeah, no, this is a good line right here. I mean, we kind of discussed briefly pre-show, but I mean, if you put these guys against these same teams last year and you combine these numbers just in mid-season form, this is like a minus 250 play. You know what I mean? Like Allen 225 wouldn't even be an available option this week, right? And then Mahomes 275, obviously good price right there for the matchup, especially with the total. Mahomes versus Trevor Lawrence, hopefully getting Kelsey back. Obviously, Jones on the defensive side. I think they're just going to be coming in as a better, stronger team in week 2. And yeah, I wrote an article for Sportstopia. I haven't posted yet for underdog stuff. And in that one, I actually took Josh Allen to have 25 more passing yards than Jimmy Garoppolo in that game. And even, I know you're thinking, oh, well, they're going to get ahead. They're going to run the ball. The reason I love betting on the Bills is because they do not do that. They're one of the few teams that they get ahead and they pass the ball at the same rate that they did in a neutral game script or a negative game script, which is ungodly rare in the current NFL. But at the end of the day, when you understand what your team does well and you understand what they don't do well, and passing the ball is clearly what they do well, they're going to keep on passing. That's what they've done these last couple of years with McDermott, and I expect them to do it again. So 225 feels like a free square to me. I think Mahomes is a little bit of a harder leg, but if Kelsey's back, if the offense is looking good again, then I mean 275 is nothing for Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah, you got Kincaid, Gabe Davis, and Stephon Diggs. All of them can take a top off the defense. That was the craziest thing to me, was that he hit this number with 26 yards. 26 yards, dude. Josh Allen used to do that in his sleep. Last year, I bet you it was every single game he was over that thing. So really, really like Josh Allen this week. Obviously, you're locking and loading him in all your fantasy lineups. He's the, I think, second rated or second highest priced DK quarterback this week behind Mahomes. So we're rolling with the two top guys, and hopefully they're able to come through for us. And I expect them to again this week as well. So let's go through our recaps, Stu, and then we'll be introducing our long shots. This will be our first long shots of the year on our Friday show. Still 35 of you guys in here. Thank you guys so much. Hit that like button. Here comes the recap for you guys.
Yep, starting out with Jahan Dotson, over 42.5 receiving yards, minus 110 over on DraftKings. They went to my favorite play of the week. We got Michael Pittman, over 50.5 receiving yards, minus 110. That's 1.5 unit play, and that's over on Bet365, Caesars, and DraftKings.
Beautiful. And I'm going to be rolling with Josh Allen, 225, Patrick Mahomes, 275. Those are the alt lines on DraftKings there. And I know, guys, it'll be sweaty. We might need a second shirt, or you're wearing a basketball jersey so you don't have no sleeves there, because it's going to be sweaty. Tyreek Hill, longest reception under 27.5 at minus 120 over on DraftKings. Hey, those are always the fun ones, though, right? We always talk about the longest reception. You only need one play. It's the same thing. It's just going to be a little sweatier for that one play, and hoping it does not happen, right? We're cheering for boring on offense there for Miami. So, let's kick it over to you, Stu. Kicking us off, I need your line on this one. Obviously got the number. What is the line for you?
plus 340 right now over on DraftKings. I haven't been able to line shop that yet, so maybe there's something better out there. But I went with the 340 on DraftKings. I've talked about it throughout the week, but I think my starting point in DFS this week is going to be Josh Allen, Josh Jacobs, and Gabe Davis as my stack in that game. And I really do like Jacobs for a number of reasons, especially after he burned me last week. I know it would be obviously very hard if you tailed that most rushing yards in the game and saw that extremely inefficient rushing performance last week. But at the end of the day, there is one thing that Josh Jacobs showed me, and that's he led the league in opportunity share between all running backs last week, which meant he was out there more than any other running back in the league. He clearly has that RB1 role nailed down. And what did we see? How clear was it where we attacked the Jets defense last week, or the Bills defense? It's the run game. We saw Breece Hall have 28% of snaps, and he had over 100 rushing yards in that game. We saw even a guy like Dalvin Cook, he's absolutely toasted, absolutely cooked, was running pretty well in the ground. Like, this is where you want to attack this team. I think the Raiders know this. I do like that the Raiders are more pass heavy this year, though. On first down, their pass rate over expected was plus 7%, which is not common for them at all. But what that means is a much more balanced attack. When those safeties have to worry about Devontae Adams on first down, they're not going to be up in the box. You're going to have a little bit better looks for Josh Jacobs right there. And at the end of the day, what do we know about Josh Jacobs? He's a home run hitter. And that's exactly what Breece Hall is. When you talk about running style, he's a home run hitter. You want that guy that can make that one huge play. I think that's exactly what Jacobs can do. I think he's going to touch the ball at least 20 times in this game. And I think even when they're behind, I just talked about how much the Bills love to pass when they're ahead. The Raiders, number one in negative game rushing rate last year. Even when they were behind, they still ran the ball all the time. I expect that to continue as well. Jacobs is the centerpiece of this offense. 340 seems like good value for a guy that's going to dominate touches.
Yeah, and I know baseball guys, you know I always beat Stu on long shots, but today I'm going a little lower, and I'm going with my boy here, Nico Collins. I know we just talked about it a little bit with him and Dotson. I think you can't go wrong. I like both of them this week, but I love Nico Collins this week, bro. I love him. Obviously, a matchup with Indianapolis there. We just saw what Calvin Ridley did to these dudes. Absolutely torched them. Zay Jones torched them. But let's look at Nico Collins, man. 25% target share last week, 8 catches, 80 yards, right? He didn't even get the big ones either because he had 158 total air yards last week. 158. Who would have guessed that he would be towards the top of the league? If you would have bet a guy that would have that 50% of air yards, and it's T. Higgins, A.J. Brown, Mike Evans. Oh, yeah, there's Nico Collins hiding there on the bottom. Nobody's talking about this guy. I love betting these guys before they get in those big spots. Nico Collins is finding his way into my fantasy lineups this week. And I just love his ADOT, bro. It was like 15 last week, 14.7. And this dude's sure-handed. He's the de facto number one here. And C.J. Stroud is going to be firing away. Obviously, Dalton Schultz, I know he didn't practice yesterday. He did practice today. I think that's even better that they have that across the middle to pull that safety down a little bit, those backers down there a little. I want to see Nico Collins go deep. He's one of those guys who can break away a 40-yarder and make things easy for you and not even have to sweat this one. So really like Nico Collins this week in this matchup. And this is a sneaky game. I don't know why it's a 39.5 total, but me and you were both talking that this might be a spot we go in DraftKings where no one's going to be playing this game as much as us. We're going to be those guys under the radar, but this is how you win those big tourneys is you play these games that nobody else wants to play. You're going to the Chiefs game, 51 total. I can't fault you for it, but there's going to be ownership there. I bet you Nico Collins ain't pushing more than 10, 12% ownership, and it might be lower than that because people are going to want to go down to Kadarius Toney possibly, Sky Moore possibly, all these guys just to have people in that game environment. No one wants a 39.5 point total. Sign me up for Nico Collins, baby. 75 at almost 300? I love him this week. Absolutely love him. Shout out CJ Stroud. Keep showing out, young king.
Yeah, no, I like this look. I mentioned the pace of play being a surprise in week one. I don't think anyone expected the Texans to be a higher pace kind of team out there. But like you said, Stroud was chucking it, and I think it's pretty clear. I mean, it's abundantly clear that Collins is the number one wide receiver on this team. Like, there is little to zero target competition. Obviously, a young guy like Tank Dell is exciting. It'll be interesting to see what he has, but he's a part-time player at this point. Robert Woods on the outside is doing more blocking than he is doing catching at this point in his career. And lastly, the Colts did use the second most cover 3 last week out of any team in the league. And Nico Collins is actually 10th in the league dating back to last year in yards per route run against cover 3, which is pretty crazy. That's above names like Chris Olave, some real big hitters, right? So this is the kind of coverage he loves to attack. I'm definitely going to be telling you, I love this value right here.
Yeah, we're going to see a point where, and this is just me telling the future here. We told the future on Geno. We're telling the future here. Nico Collins is going to be pushing that top 15 fantasy guy, and we're going to be seeing this number like plus 175 here in a couple weeks when he starts getting these bombs. When CJ Stroud starts chucking that ball down the field, when he gets a little more confidence, I think we start to see this number get under 200, right? And it gets closer to like 150 because this guy's got talent, always has. They just never really had anybody to get him the ball. And he's going down with he's going down with the ship there on it. So I think obviously you're going to be rolling with him the entire year. Obviously, is that high of a draft pick. So good repertoire in camp. Definitely a guy I want to roll with there for sure. And yeah, for sure, Sean, definitely think that you could definitely see a little bit more passing in those situations instead of just first read, run, right? We want to obviously keep your guy healthy there for the Colts there. And I do want to mention something too is, guys, if you got anything and you hear anything, say it in the chat. We will talk about it, right? I mean, that's the thing is I don't want you guys to think that we're not going to put it on here just because you're disagreeing with us. Disagree with us. I disagree with Stu all the time. Stu disagrees with me all the time. That's how it is. We're not all going to agree on every play. If you guys got something, say it, right? That's the whole point, right? This is obviously us two up here, but we take all this other stuff into consideration. Might be something we didn't know, right? So just wanted to put that out there because obviously as we kind of grow as a channel and grow as a show, we could, if we put out something stupid, tell us, right? I mean, if we don't know something and you guys might have heard something, drop them in there, right? That's what we're about. We want to make sure that this is an open place, right? Just want to make sure you guys know that because obviously I know Sean mentioned that he's like, oh, I didn't want to, be a hater. Bro, you ain't a hater, man. We know who haters are, and you are definitely not a hater.
Yeah, I want all the smoke. If someone doesn't like one of my plays, I'll send you the link. You can come on here and argue. Like, I don't spend all day doing this shit for nothing. I want the smoke. You know what I mean? If someone hates my plays, let me know. I'm ready to defend myself up here. You just, you better be ready over there. Not that that's what Sean was doing. I'm just saying. I welcome any disagreement. I thrive in arguments. That's why I joined Twitter. I wanted to argue with people about sports. And in a weird way, I still do it right now. So, yeah, definitely bring the smoke. And, yeah, not even negative comments. If you got a positive one, if you like the plays, leave a comment, leave a like, all that stuff, because that's obviously appreciated as well.
Brian bringing up Chris Godwin there. I think it's definitely a bounce back week for him. A lot of people obviously really disappointed in the showing last week. Baker did a fantastic job of handling the pressure there. A lot of the stuff went to Mike Evans on the deep stuff. Obviously over 50% air yards for Mike Evans last week. But Godwin, I expect to have a bounce back, man. I really like Chris Godwin in this offense and expect those dump offs. That's why I rolled with Baker completions, baby. Roll with him. Yeah. He made the cover photo. That man is making money for us. So shout out to Baker, baby. Tampa Bay coming through. Let's do it.
Yeah, no, I was going to say, for me, he's a receptions over yards guy 100% of the time, especially with that low ADOT. And, we talked about it a lot. The one thing I will say, though, Kyler Gordon isn't good, right? So when you have a bad starter out, it's always very interesting to me how we analyze people, right? Because for me, I think one of the mistakes I made actually last week is I overanalyzed how bad the Cardinals defense might be because they lost all of their bottom tier starters last year and replaced them with kind of scrappy young guys. Sometimes that's actually an improvement. We actually saw the same thing with the Cowboys depth last year. Some of the corners that were coming off the bench, I'm thinking, oh yeah, Deron Bland, when he first came out, sucked. And now he rates out PFF grade every week. So it is very, very interesting to me. Like, oh no, Kyler Gordon. Well, I would mind more Kyler Gordon, to be completely honest, but that's just me. So.
Yeah. And this is the tough part, guys, is right. We're doing this on a Friday, right? We get this out at the same time every single week. But we have no alt lines, right, on DK. So this is definitely a spot or on FanDuel. And that's what we were pissed about this morning already. We were talking about it like, come on, man, give me that, right? We need those now because these long shots could be higher over there. Usually they are, actually. So just a heads up, they will, I mean, maybe grab 6 receptions. I know they do a little bit more alternate stuff receptions-wise over there, so maybe that's a spot to go to just for future base. But obviously it is Friday, middle of the day. All the injury reports aren't completely out yet, so that's probably why, right? So just a heads up, we do this every time, same time. That is probably why we're not getting all the information and our favorite alt lines over on FanDuel. So just a heads up, you can definitely find that.
And I will use this. Oh, never mind. You got a question right here. How about
Paul talking about Goff at home over 1.5 passing touchdowns? Yeah, he destroyed this number last year. Only thing that bothers me is they actually got that running back that is going to be, David Montgomery within 3 yards is getting 3 carries to score that touchdown. That's the only thing that scares me. But obviously, shout out my boy Laporta. I want to find a way to bet on you this week, my friend. I just don't have your receptions line. Give me your receptions line. Come on.
No, we're on the same page. I like Laporta this week. In DFS, I'm going to play him even though it might be a little uglier just because the yards probably won't be there. But I love Laporta. I mean, you attack the Seattle team over the middle. Ooh, how is that not juiced as hell, though, right? I have to imagine Goff over 1.5 is like -150, -160, right? That would be my actual guess for the line. So if you get it at a really good price, around even money, around -120, then I really have nothing negative. I think we both kind of agree that's a sneaky over game. That's a sneaky offense game. I don't really trust either defense in that game. So I definitely would lean towards the over, but I agree. Montgomery's tough. But also Jamal Williams had 17 on the ground last year and Goff still crushed it. So there's opportunity.
Yeah, not a bad parlay piece, -180. Definitely a spot to throw a parlay piece in there. But yeah, definitely a look if you have another thing you're confident in. Hey, throw my boy Amon-Ra in there. He's gonna find his way onto my card as well. That dude's a fucking monster here. So if you can find like 5 catches and throw that in there, make it close to even money. Definitely could have a worse spot than that because Amon-Ra is damn near pushing that category of getting 6 every single week at this point. In receptions, this dude's always open. Throw me wide open. This guy's open every time. And Brian bringing up, I'm a Bears fan. Trust me, the backup isn't better, man. Dude, that defense was cheeks last week. My God, dude, Jordan Love didn't even have to break anything down, dude. Just flipped it around and threw the ball behind the line of scrimmage and gets a touchdown with Aaron Jones there too. So, yeah, Sun God, man. Hey, yep, for sure. Throw it in there. It'd probably give you really nice plus money if you take his touchdown and or receptions in there as well. So we are pushing that hour. That's usually where we get to, guys. Stu, what do you got for the people here before we head out? Obviously looking to improve on another sweep from this one and 4-1 in our last 2 shows.
Yeah, no, I mean, obviously, if you're enjoying, leave a like, comment, all that stuff, all on Twitter, all that boring stuff. I will use the second of this time to shout out my guy, Tutu Atwell, who I will now be playing every week in DFS until he proves me wrong. And I will never be betting his regular reception number, but I'll probably start betting his alt line at like 75 or 80 or whatever. I'm waiting for FanDuel numbers because Draftkings isn't great. Man, I rewatched that game 1, and I know San Francisco's not the best matchup for it. This is more of just a season-long thing. They used him in pre-snap motion more than Tyreek Hill last week. They got him 13 free releases off the line of scrimmage last week. That's awesome. They literally went, Tyreek Hill, okay, we don't have Tyreek Hill. Well, we have this really fast, short guy. Let's use him in the exact same way because Tutu Atwell can't beat man coverage and he can't beat press coverage, right? So let's put him in a free release every single play and let him run downfield. And what did we remember about that 49ers defense last year? They were great, but we targeted Hufanga multiple times because he was kind of known for making those, I want that interception play so bad that he allows a 60-yard touchdown. Tutu's the gadget player. He's the clear deep threat. I love his weekly upside. He's going to be dirt cheap. San Francisco isn't the best matchup in the world, but I will be playing a lot of Tutu. I just had to get that. I watched that game, and Matthew Stafford and McVay were so good. Like, that was fun to watch what they were doing. I mean, even a guy like Puka, right? He was beating Tariq Woolen in one-on-one coverage on the outside. Like, that's crazy. I don't know how you're scheming all this up. I don't know why we slept on McVay for so long, but I just had to get out there. I was very impressed by that, and I'm gonna be playing my guy Tutu. 13 free releases is crazy. That's above Tyreek Hill last week.
Yeah, and bringing up the Rams, just gotta get my guy in there from last year, Baker Mayfield. Shout out you, man. You're the homie. You're the homie. You got that. Just got to give him a shout out again. Found his way to be the front of the thumbname there. So I had to get that in. Hey, you said it. I got to bring it out. I think he played 2 games?
Okay. But
you had to find a way.
But yeah, back to the promotion. You can find all my articles over on Twitter, Discord. We were obviously cashing like crazy. Hawkinson and Madison was great last show. I love these plays. I love that Pittman spot. Super pumped for another exciting weekend of football.
Yeah, hey, Brian. Next Friday, we're here on Monday. We're here on Monday and Wednesday. What are you talking about? We'll see you next Friday. We'll see you on Monday. We'll see you on Monday here, ready. As always, we'll be back Monday, Wednesday, Friday, hopefully around noon every single time. If it changes, we will post it on Twitter. Have those notifications on for both of us on Twitter, on the channel here. Also have my college football play I just posted this morning. So hopefully that one comes through. We're 1-0 on just when I post. I just been posting them now just because talking about college guys on a video is just, a little tougher than just writing it on there. So we got that. We're rolling with my boy Tago Vailoa. Hopefully he just peppers underneath, lets his guy with work, just like his brother. Maybe his brother can throw a couple short ones, no deep balls. I want the brother to throw all the deep balls so he doesn't have to. So I'm excited for that one. Hopefully we can cash in on a Friday one there. And baseball grind still going. We still got that. So I'll have it play out here shortly as well for the huge slate that is tonight. So thank you guys so much. Obviously, we really appreciate your support. Hit that like button on the way out. And hopefully we can get another winning week here on Pass the Prop for week 2. Thanks, guys. Best of luck this weekend. And we'll see you on Monday.